I can't help but agree. I mean, Dreadnought actually brought up a really good point at the start of the draft before. It's about where SPT needed to be during that second temple. I believe that it ended up being Murden that got picked just outside of the temple. There was a great setup, and they made it to that point, but that was the moment where all of a sudden it's like, all right, we got to that second temple. Yes, there was stuff that happened before, but that's when you started to see the lead go from marginal to it started to increase incrementally more and more in favor of Ballistix.
And with Ballistix, with already the 1-0 lead over SPT, you guys can vote for Ballistix. Continue that we were 90 to 10 earlier. Let's see if that goes any higher. You can vote for Ballistix with hashtag BLX in chat. If you think SPT can maybe be the one Chinese team to take a map, or you just like them, then hashtag SPT in chat.
Tetra, I want to bounce something back to you.
Yes.
Because I am curious. If SPT feels that maybe they can't go toe-to-toe, they got any secret heroes out there?
I mean, they have several. They were the team that brought out the Twin Blades variant amidst 2 mid-season brawls ago. That's when they were the unusual team, back when E-Star were the team to be the top of the table. SPT would bring out unusual picks to try and deal with this. However, I'm going to go off that topic here for a second because this concerns me. It is Towers of Doom, a map which has been very successful for Ballistix and has been the worst possible map for Super Perfect Team in this phase, as they are 0-3 on it.
Yeah, and where we see inversely 4-0 for Ballistix every time it's from their selection as well. So I think it's very fair to say that after, you know, Sky Temple game #1 and Ballistix picking up Towers of Doom #2 in that result for SPT, they have to find something, right? I don't think it's fair to say that it's out. You know, Medivh might be a tool, one of the better battlegrounds for Medivh. I'd like to see that from SPT, just something with a wild card factor, you know, that kind of Joker factor that we see in the Eastern scene.
Well, let's see if we do have any kind of wild card or Joker as we are heading into the Towers of Doom draft. It is going to be SPT with the first ban and pick, as, unsurprisingly, this was a Ballistix map choice. I would be very upset and confused if this has ended up being a Super Perfect Team map choice.
We are getting some, you know, unique picks out of the way. Obviously, the Abathur again showing itself. We saw that banned last map. We're going to see it banned again here, which will bring up, obviously, the ranged assassins. We've, you know, seen the Rainer priority at times for Ballistix. But this is a map where Phoenix, and more notably Hanzo, who is not as high priority as he once was, but that is always a threat, especially Towers of Doom, where there are a lot of structures in narrow areas to get a lot of scatter arrow value.
Very true, and of course there is a boss on this map where Hanzo immediately gains value as well. So we can see it on that, and of course vision game is very important, especially when you're fighting on that mid-ult.
It's going to be Rainer, Decker to Dibbles. Or Phoenix. I feel like it's got to be the Rainer here for SPT. Get SC on something a little less, you know, kind of peppery.
Yeah, but we're seeing that preference for Diablo coming out from Misaka. This is actually an issue I had with him in League play. His Diablo is insane, but his priority of it over heroes like Maiev and Genji at some points during the League play was a little concerning to me.
Well, they do get 3 very strong picks by way of Diablo, Phoenix, and Dahaka. They get the global control again. The Phoenix-Diablo pairing we know can be strong. Yeah. Phoenix in general, obviously very strong. So they do have a lot to work with. Support will be interesting to see what they end up with. And Stukov was going to be the one that we've seen Ballistix run a couple of times with a similar setup. Yeah. They're like, hey, we know how strong this can be. We're not going to let you try it.
I mean, this was their exact draft, other than the fact that Deckard was stolen away from them. SPT currently mirroring themselves. But, like you said, they're going to have to pick a different support.
I'd like to see a Blaze ban from SPT. Thank you very much. Take it away from Jung-Ha. It's been one of the higher priority heroes for him. And also when you have, you know, already priority into your offlane, it's hands down you want to remove any safety tools, especially for Deckard, who's one who can struggle, you know, outside of the massive stay a while and listen plays. If he's out a little bit too far, and Rainer, both of those are vulnerable. So removing those extra safety tools. Other ones that exist, you know, Tyrael, Zeratul are other things to keep in mind here. And it's not like Jung-Ha is afraid to pick the Zeratul if he would like, but he's not gonna. We got ourselves Yrel.
And another ETC coming in here. The Korean team seem very happy to pick this up, completely juxtaposed to what we saw in the Western Clash just a week ago.
We could always get the SC Zeratul in that last slot. It is something that has shown up at times. We'll keep an eye on that, but for SPT, more damage. Maybe they've got the Zeratul up their sleeve. We'll see if we find out. Obviously, support. Instead, Karazim and Thrall. Very front heavy here for the side of SPT.
Karazim used to be one of ZZH's favorites, but A little bit less these days, not picking it up too much, but it's nice to see it return. And that roll, once again, this is very much an all-in on that Phoenix combo composition. But with the disruption of ETC and Yorel, and even Reyna with that penetrating round, I am concerned. But let's see how Ballistix are going to finish out their draft. You mentioned the potential for Zeratul, but we're sticking with Junkrat. Even more disruption and fantastic poke to deny those ulters.
And it's not going to be able to match Soap on that Dahaka at the exact same range, but definitely will be able to keep up close enough to probably, you know, not be too concerned by the fact that we do see that global advantage on the other side. Global's on this battleground a little bit different than Sky Temple, always relevant to the kind of impact that you can have. It is a lot more oppressive always when you have the lead, but it's definitely not nearly as, you know, difficult if you end up falling on the back foot.
And we do have that counter global potential as well of ETC if he wants to go into that stage dive, which you have the potential interrupts from Dahaka from the roll, technically, depending on if SPT hit their heroic second or even if they're willing to delay.
The Sunder, but outside of that, there's not a lot of options. I'm going to be
true.
honest, there's not a lot of options. You know, I do want to highlight one thing that Junkrat does do really well in this is that Junkrat, there's a lot of aggression coming forward. Obviously, there's a lot of melee. And so you'll get good poke value, you'll get the concussion mine, but it's always a matter of you've got that fear of what could come behind you by way of Dahaka. And the one thing that Junkrat players can do very well is to set those steel traps in the bushes in those moments behind you. So you can always play more towards one side. That way you have the fear of, okay, if Dahaka comes in, can he get onto me? You have that moment's notice. You can hear it. And you always have that spatial sound, but it could be one bush or the other. You keep one protected. You keep everybody protected, and you can move out accordingly. Yeah. Pre-13, especially when you don't have those concussion mines on short cooldown. So that is something where Junkrat does have some added value for this composition to be careful of the flank.
Yeah. One thing, you know, kind of on the opposite side of the coin, though, that I feel like I see when we do end up getting that Junkrat coming through, is that we know that it's going to be Diablo Karazim. That, I mean, they single-handedly, one stun, I'm pretty confident that those two might be able to just 100-0 Junkrat on their own. That's Warrior and Support. So it's like, as long as we see them play very calculated, which is Ballistix, probably understandably will, but it is one of those kind of cool moments where it is at least a little bit risky. Yeah. With SPT's comp.
Even with that very convincing performance from Ballistix, we only see a single percentage more going over to Ballistix, 91 instead of 90.
That means we only have like the, you know, 1% of, I don't know if I'm an SPT, I don't know if I like the Chinese region, you know, where the 9%, they're not moving, man. We can depend on the core there of China.
That's most of the crowd out there.
See that 9% on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays for HGC China. As we're going to head into the game, ladies and gentlemen, it is game number 2 between Ballistix and Super Perfect Team, and we're heading to Towers of Doom.
As we load in here, 2 Towers of Doom. Ballistix up 1 game over SPT. The last representatives here at the Eastern Clash for China. It's going to start off where we have Magi representing here on the Deckard Kane, SDE on Junkrat, Jungha on Urel, ETC played by Hooligan, and SC on Raynor.
And on the right, it is Super Perfect Team with Bellisi on Thrall, Soap on Dahaka, Misaka on Diablo, ZZH on Karazim, and luckily, he's back on that Phoenix.
A lot of synergy opportunities if they want to move into the Salvo mixed with the Earthquake. Very common strategy within the Western scene, specifically in North America. But we talked about some fears if we don't see the stage dive. Hold up, though. Knockback.
Tackle gets no more healing, though.
Really interesting choice by SPT to be willing to even risk that kind of positioning over mid when half of the rotation was up towards the top half. Normally, I compliment some of the creativity over the level 1 decisions from SPT and a lot of the Chinese teams, but I can't help but feel like that was one where they were a bit too confident on where Ballistix would be.
Yeah, and as such, they were able to get outplayed. That very much came down to Diablo trying an engage and Yorel just batting him around, and that just went all downhill from there. Misaka's back, though. Didn't lose any souls, didn't have any. And as such, he's able to return and begin gathering and clearing those lanes.
So we find a bit of a kind of awkward, almost 2-1-2 attempt, if you will, so far here by SPT, with the Karazim rotating between the 2 ZZH, unsure if we want to commit to a full 1-3-1. Either way, what I'm trying to highlight, I guess, by this, with that, you know, kind of statement is really the fact that the laning situation not going to provide anything too proactive by SPT. They don't have a comp that thrives in a 2-1-2 environment. At best, you could argue it's a 1-3-1, and with the slow cap onto their mercenaries, I can't help but feel like Ballistix is just going to look for a full invade here, or at least demand it to hawk a brush down.
They're going to say hello. Concussion mine already down, scroll the ceiling lands, and it looks like Ballistix are
There it is.
Willing to back up. Dahaka stays, and they just let this go. Concussion mine drops, but Misaka was caught in the root instead, so they don't land it. Misaka goes in, Misaka goes down. There he goes.
Yeah, that was a little bit too far out there. SPT was trying to abuse the fact, though, that they had a little bit of a wave clear advantage for a small time frame with Soap and make the transition down. I would have liked to see Soap maybe get the brush stock in if they were going to contest that fight for as long as they were. But either way, minions and things here pressuring towards SPT's base. And Ballistix, with the 2 kills that they have, are likely going to do what they do best here, which is just right-click your base and rip it apart, much like they did in last game. I mean, pre-10, we looked at almost 2 forts down last game.
I mean, at least they can't just give a 5-man team wipe you and go for the core on this map, because it is not possible.
Yeah,
instead,
you know,
you can just 6-man, 6 ultra cap instead.
You know, it's one of those situations to where I can't help but if I love it or I hate it when playing at the other side. You know, sometimes you want mercy, Tetra.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want mercy, and Powers of Doom, it shows none.
Yeah, in some cases, like, obviously you can't get core rushed, but you can certainly get 6 bell tower capped, and that can be a nightmare. As we do see the altars beginning to spawn. Dahaka has so far been left alone up in the top lane. Only 3 heroes down here for SPT. They might just try for a delay tactic here with Dahaka soaking, as is Diablo. Neither one to go for the ult yet. Dahaka's finally rotating down there. Urel already taking her side.
Yeah, the biggest problem there by SPT, I feel like, was the fact that Diablo was willing to show himself mid. If they feign that information and don't show him, Misaka might be able to, you know, contest bottom and stall it out a little bit longer. But the minute you go, all right, I got the Haka top, I've got Diablo mid, it's very easy. Nice route into concussion mine there. Not going to net much for Ballistix here, but can't help but feel like they are gaining that momentum, much like we saw. Slow and steady here, and then we find that usually around 12-13 window where Ballistix go, all right, we're ready to win this game and make it not look even close.
Speaking of not close, Merlisi is not close to surviving. Down he goes. Nice little pickup, 3-0 in terms of kills. Ballistix just finding people over and over again. They're beginning to move further ahead, even with that soak. Instead of the objective that SPT have, they're almost a full level behind at 4 minutes for it.
Yeah, and if you notice that SPT's making some interesting opportunities available on the top half of Towers of Doom because they're struggling so much with the control onto the lower section. And on maps like Dragonshire, that is, as I've talked about, China was able to plus that out. Hold on, Misaka should be able to get out of this. Moving in, trying to get the body blocks. Flip over. A lot of damage coming through, but now SDE might be the one out too far. ZZH.
He's gone very aggressive, gets pushed and taken out. Double stun from Hooligan, and a potential kill on Hooligan has turned into a double. Let's make it a triple. No, Misaka escapes, but that was a good turnaround by Ballistix.
Yeah, it very much was. Great job here by Ballistix to be able to bait some of that rotations out by SPT, and I just said in my last statement that, you know, we might be in a situation where, you know, slow and steady till they hit the 12s. Ballistix wasn't waiting around this time. They're ready to make this game very, very much theirs fast. With how big of an advantage they have, it's likely going to be, you know, at least bottom bell tower control, maybe cycle over to the middle lane, or a high, you know, a very early boss play. Either way, SPT's base is going to receive a lot of damage over the next couple of seconds.
Steel trap land, power slide onto Merlisi.
So risky.
Just dodges out of the scroll of ceiling. Luckily, is dueling, taking out this mercenary camp on the way through.
1 to 2 kills is all that Ballistix need in this fight whatsoever, and then it'll hit the 10 spike to full wipe. If SPT fails this, they're going to lose so much. Oh my gosh, a lot of damage though with that stun against the wall. Misaka aggressing a bit farther. Jung-Ha is going to take quite a bit of damage there, but the heal is going to allow him to get safe. Soap actually got knocked up by the concussion mine in range to get a drag on a SC, but was able to hit the penetrating round and hold zone here. Channel now started by ZZH.
Interrupted by SDE, at least for the moment. Jong-Ha comes in. He will get the interrupt. ZZH just cancels and dives in. Merlisi is so far forward. Gets a quick heal and speed through for ZZH, but
10.
SC picks up the kill.
Now they have the 10 spike as well.
2.
There's going to be the second one. Here comes the third. I'm not going to lie. I actually feel like there was a little bit of baiting done by Ballistix here over that last skirmish. Stay a while and listen is going to be enough to get the kill. Hooligan, well, he had the body block. He actually went for the mosh pit there. It got interrupted by the flip over.
Doesn't matter though, as Misaka is completely alone. Down he goes. Dahaka has given up and has moved to top lane to soak some XP because they need some kind of late game comeback potential. Junkrat delays his capture for the extra shots. It's going to be 5 shots going onto the core of Super Perfect Team.
Yeah, I feel like Ballistix may even intentionally kind of stalled that out a little bit longer to get closer to the 10 spike. So instead of the double kill, it would only taken the 1 and giving SPT a false sense of security. But they volunteered for that very high risk, low reward type situation, and now they very much are going to have to pay for it. Man. It's tough. I'm trying to find the solutions, right? Like, I normally want to be like, well, that pressure towards the top half of the battleground.
Oh my god. 0 ping, by the way. CSC pulls back. Able to stay alive after a very aggressive move in by SPT.
Hooligan still does have the mosh pit after the last skirmish. We're yet to see what Junkrat is going to commit to when it comes to his heroic either. Misaka, Sundering goes through. That's going to be one dead SC.
There comes the salvo coming out. Not enough damage to finish anyone off, but that kill on Reyna was pretty good.
So we do have the Sundering as the interrupt towards that mosh pit.
I mean, they needed something.
Yeah, they absolutely did. They do have the isolation as well. Those are tools we'll see the SPT is going to be able to rely on. And now with this downtime, with SV being dead, SPT needs to get some kind of conversion. They're going to actually look for a full skirmish. Now focus on Magi. Sail while Alyssa available.
7-sided does a little bit of damage onto Magi. They're running out of minions here, so they're going to have to pull back because this bell tower is going to be hostile. Soap in danger. Isolation is dodged.
Look at Mosh.
Soap, Mosh pit is coming out. Sleep for good measure. And it's going to absolutely no Karasim actually escape. So does Diablo.
SDE is actually getting chunked there by the lightning breath. Youngha jumping back, getting the armor to the rest of the squad. Soap going to get hammer slapped into the wall. Wow. That's going to be first to drop here for SPT.
SESC's back in the fight, picking up the first kill, gets the second as well. Down goes Misaka, and SPT, their moment of hope has turned into a dredge of despair.
Bell tower conversion and control for Ballistix is going to allow 4 or 5 shots consumed by Hooligan down below, setting the core to SPT down to 22 HP. Normally, you would say, well, that is the beauty of Towers of Doom. You have the opportunity to wait for the later stages of this game, but that advantage in shots this early, mixed with the experience advantage so heavily for Ballistix, and more importantly, the map control and global advantage is not that big of a concern for a point that I was trying to say before we got a lot of action earlier, and that is the siege capabilities and conversion. Even if the SPT focuses on top and get it into their favor, Ballistix has enough siege capabilities to make it happen and get rid and control that back into their favor. Raynor for the siege, Junkrat for the lane prep. It's actually not that difficult for them to get it back.
Isolation dodged once again. Soap is having a shocker with trying to land these thanks to the amazing dodges of Ballistix. And as such, bot remains in control. No counter comeback XP kills for SPT yet. 1 kill to 11.
Yeah, Hooligan may be out a little bit too far, though. 7-sided strike with the flip over. Oh my, the heal was almost enough there, but the lightning breath mixed with the sundering. We got the brush shot coming in the trunk. We see the salvo, but look at that concussion mine.
SDE barely escapes. Muggy's on the run. Soap gets the drag, luckily in range, and Muggy's taken out. Did I say comeback XP? I think I did.
Yes,
as SPT pick up something.
But there's so much left to do here. It is definitely the silver lining, but SPT has to paint this map red. They need so much control. Bell tower control with that bottom half of the battleground. We still see there is about a 10-second difference before Ballistix between the Raynor and to the Decker, but that is 8 seconds different than the Altars. They absolutely needed to get that invade as a 5-man unit. Otherwise, it's just going to be an even match on the bottom half of the battleground, and all they can claim for themselves is 1 fort. But the XP, that is now the only element that SPT can really rely on to get this game back under control.
They're on even talents for the first time in a very long time, bringing themselves back here. Merly C is even beginning to channel. Hooligan's going to get zoned away, so SPT will get bot. Now it's all about mid. ZZH dashes back to his team, stays alive. Lightning Breath, Sundering, and soon to be Salvo, a back off cooldown.
Great interrupt there onto the lead. Youngha getting stunned against the wall with the hammer, pushing down Misaka. 7-sided strike drop along with the lightning breath. Stay a while and listen is going to stall out too, but Magi realizing he can't handle that lightning breath. Sundering splitting away with the Ardent Defender.
Ardent Defender is good. Here comes the salvo as they pull in Joker, trying to get the angle. They don't get the slows here. With Hooligan low, he's force ripping. Diablo dashes away via minion, which makes this a 4 versus 5. Moshpit on 3! And Hooligan is going to shred the team of SPT!
It's an absolute dance party over here. They end up getting the kill onto Misaka as well. That is SC tracking him down all the way towards that top lane to secure that kill. Luckily, trying to get away here. Shielding not going to be responding quite yet. Ballistix ends up eating the Project Cube along with the Scroll of Sealing, but close enough to the Wall of Death to be able to hold his own here. Bottom bell tower will be converted back in favor of Ballistix. When that happens, it is the 16 talent tier advantage. 5 shots towards SPT's core, and now we find themselves with a 16 spike. Oh! My goodness, that was absolutely needed here for SPT to be able to turn and stall out this game, because otherwise it would have been 5 shots into immediate boss after. SPT finds ways to hold on to this game still, Tetcher.
Now they can move into bot lane. They can take back their bell tower, but if they do this, there is the threat of the 4-man boss. If they take down the bell tower, it has to be fast. You can see how late this was taken. This means they actually have to delay a little bit their cap because it wasn't even spawned yet, so the boss is taken by Ballistix. Unless they can interrupt. Dark is here, Karazim's here, are they just going to abandon bot?
Everybody has to make this rotation very, very fast.
They're on the way.
Oh my goodness, this is so greedy. Without Brawl or Phoenix?
About 16. What? Phoenix is on the way. They have to move. They have to move now. Good knockback by Urel. Diablo moves in. Lightning Breath not on the point. Shots go in. Soap knocked back. If they can get kills, it might be an opportunity, but instead, they have to back up, and that was a disastrous move for SPT.
Not gonna lie, I gotta go back and watch that replay and see if that was an intentional bait onto the Shadow Charge to make sure that if there was a Lightning Breath afterwards, it's not going to be on the boss control point. Either way, SPT with the rotation, attempted, not so successful here, and they're struggling when it comes to that core HP. 13 remains, and 16 talent tier still not here quite yet. Hooligan almost there to be able to get the punishment out.
Misaka trying to poke down any of these minion waves with bot still under control, down to half health thanks to the move from Thorol earlier. With no mercenaries yet pushing in, SPT have a little bit of freedom just to stay back. They now have their own level 16, but this is not looking good, Dread. They need to be able to move in to take the bell tower at minimum, and then they have to really get a double capture, or this is going to be close to game over as Diablo moves in. Quick power slide from Hooligan, though, shuts down the overpower.
Yeah, that was a really good job there. Oh my gosh, Thundering along with the 7-sided strike and the isolation, everything going on to Hooligan. Stay a while and listen. The Riptire blowing up, but it doesn't matter there with SPT Thundering isolation onto Hooligan here. They're going to make stuff happen, but keep in mind, Urel is consuming the shots on top. That is 5 shots going toward the core of SPT, 5 more towards the left. This could be game.
This could be game unless they're going to interrupt any of these. We see bot is being moved in. This is the commitment for SPT, but Urel is coming in. That's going to be a 4 versus 4. Misaka getting focused down. Lightning Breath onto SDE, who's already low. Ballistix can't get the angle to turn this round, though. Misaka's low. Magi getting focused down.
He's getting all the armor, though, for Urel and able to keep it up. And look at SC, aggressive positioning, knowing he's going to be able to give them pepper. Right now, we see Junkrat making the transition down. Soap is going to die. Top left, that's 5 more shots. Every member of SPT needs to stall over mid.
Can't stall if you're dead. As we see Soap knocked back, he's going to drag, he's delaying Urel, but the shots on top are done. It's just mid, and it's only Diablo and Dahaka alive.
Can't see him. You got it, Soap. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Ballistix, in very dominant fashion here, is able to take game number 2 over SPT and set them 1 game away from going home.
Ballistix. That was an insane fight at the end. There was a tiny glimmer of hope when they were able to move on to Magi there, and the Lightning Breath as well was solid, but so many good plays, like you said. That fact that Lightning Breath did not land on boss and they rotated so slowly really scuppered the chances of a potential comeback for Super Perfect Team.
Well, there on the screen is SC. I can tell you guys, I get a cheat sheet over here, so I get to see the in-game screen. SC had 12 kills that game. 12 of their 18 kills. He was lighting them up. Dread's like, hey, SC's giving him some pepper. Dude, he gave him like double dose of pepper that game. That was insane.
They're sneezing. They can't stop.
They know how I feel then.
Yeah, no joke, dude.